Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a new AI that was inspired by the human brain. But here's the crazy part. It didn't just copy the brain's blueprint. It looks like it actually learned to think like one, all on its own. So, let's just jump right into a really fascinating puzzle in the world of AI. You've got these massive AI models, right? Billions of parameters trained on practically the whole internet. You'd think they would be unbeatable at complex logic. Well, what if I told you a much smaller model could run circles around them? Okay, take a look at this. This chart shows a tiny model called the Hierarchical Reasoning Model, or HRM, trying to solve brutally hard Sudoku puzzles. It's only got 27 million parameters. That's a lightweight by today's standards. And yet, it's hitting over 50% accuracy, while some of the biggest names in AI are scoring a perfect 0. They can't even get started. So what on earth is going on here? Why is this tiny, specialized model absolutely crushing these behemoths that can write poetry and code? To get this, we really need to peek under the hood and see how today's big AI models actually try to think their way through a tough problem.
For the most part, they use something called chain of thought. You can think of it like the model talking to itself to solve a problem. It just generates this long, linear, step-by-step monologue to get to an answer. It's kind of like when you had to show your work in math class, one word at a time.
But here's the thing. This method has a huge, fatal flaw. It's incredibly brittle. If the model makes just one little logical mistake anywhere in that long chain, the whole thing can just fall apart, leading to a completely wrong answer. It's like a house of cards. One wrong move and the whole thing collapses. So if that step-by-step thinking is just a crutch, where do we look for a better way to build artificial reasoning? Well, the creators of HRM look to the most powerful reasoning machine we know of, our own brains. You know, your brain doesn't just think in a straight line. It splits up the work. You have high-level strategy, the big picture stuff, that happens kind of slowly and carefully. And then you have low-level details that get processed super fast. And crucially, these two systems are always talking to each other, refining ideas in these constant feedback loops.
Inspired by this exact setup in our heads, the researchers designed the Hierarchical Reasoning Model, or HRM. And honestly, the best way to get it is with a simple analogy. Think of a manager and an intern working together on a big project. The HRM has two main parts. First, you've got this high-level module, the H module, which acts like a strategic manager. It thinks slowly, it's abstract, it sets the overall game plan. And then you have the low-level module, the L module, which is like a super fast, hardworking intern that just executes all the detailed, rapid-fire work. And this creates this incredibly powerful workflow. The manager sets a goal, the intern goes off and rapidly tries a bunch of stuff, and then it reports back on what worked and what didn't. Based on that new info, the manager can completely update the strategy. It's this cycle of planning, executing, and refining that makes the whole system so strong. Okay, so this whole manager and intern system sounds fantastic in theory, and we already saw how it just demolished those Sudoku puzzles. But how does it do on a totally different kind of logic puzzle? So the next test was finding the shortest possible path through a really complex 30 by 30 maze. And the results? They were just as wild. HRM found the best path almost 75% of the time. And the giant models? You guessed it, 0. Again, this kind of spatial reasoning just completely broke them.
But what does this thinking even look like? Well, luckily for us, the researchers actually created a visualization, so we get to take a step-by-step peek inside the model's mind as it figures out the maze. So first, at step 0, the model just sees the unsolved maze. It's got a starting point, an end point, and a bunch of walls in between, just like you or I would see it. Now, just a few steps into the process, you see something amazing. It isn't just following one single path, it's actually exploring a whole bunch of different routes at the same time. This is that intern module, rapidly testing out a ton of possibilities, all based on the manager's grand strategy. And this right here is the power of the whole system in action. After exploring all those different paths, the model gets its feedback. It cuts away the dead ends, and it zeroes in on the single best solution. It's this dynamic process of refinement, not that fragile one-shot linear chain.
So the really important thing here isn't just that HRM performs so well, it's how it learns to do it. Because when the researchers looked really deep into the trained model's internal wiring, they stumbled on something nobody could have predicted.
Now, to get this, we need to talk about a concept called neural dimensionality. The easiest way to think about it is, it's a measure of how rich and complex a network's internal mental space is. The higher the dimensionality, the more different concepts the network can juggle, and the more flexible it can be with its thinking. It's what you need for real complex reasoning. And when they measured this inside HRM, the two modules were night and day. The strategic manager part developed this really rich, high-dimensional space for abstract thought. Meanwhile, the detail-oriented intern developed a much simpler, lower-dimensional one for its rapid tasks. The model had spontaneously taught itself how to specialize its thinking. And get this, the ratio between the manager's complex space and the intern's simple one was almost exactly 3-to-1. So just remember that number for a second, 2.98, because here is the absolutely astonishing part. Neuroscientists have actually measured this exact same kind of ratio between the high-level and low-level processing areas in a mouse's brain. And that ratio? It's about 2.25. The HRM, just by learning to solve puzzles, autonomously organized itself in a way that is just shockingly similar to a real biological brain.
I mean, this is a really profound discovery. It suggests that RHM didn't just learn a couple of clever tricks. It might have independently stumbled upon a fundamental organizational principle of what makes intelligence efficient and flexible, a principle that biology also figured out through evolution.
The researchers themselves put it pretty plainly. Their results challenged the whole established way of doing things. For years, the answer in AI has just been bigger, flatter models. HRM shows there's another way, a different and maybe much, much more powerful path forward. And that leaves us with this huge, provocative question. For years, AI development has felt like a race for scale. More data, more computing, bigger models. But what if the real secret isn't just scale, but structure? Have we been building AI the wrong way all along? And what other fundamental lessons from the brain are we still overlooking?